very, many seasons that we're experiencing. At the beginning of the year, it was really hot. So I'm especially thankful and appreciative of the fact that weather is cooler and we don't have to be having heat waves up and down. We're joined by our own very analyst Adiola Adeyemi, who's joining us this morning. Good morning, Adiola. Oh, um, going to wait for him to join back. This morning, and with you, our very dear, valued, wonderful parliamentarian, our newspaper family. We truly, truly appreciate you every time you call in to contribute to the conversation on the newspaper headlines segment of the Full Breakfast Show. We have quite a few headlines this morning, so we are going to go into it before we then start tackling the topics for this morning. First off, we have in the Punch newspaper 2025 budget, ministries in dilemma as Accountant General suspends fund requests. Also in the Punch newspaper, we have son stabs father to death in Imo land sale dispute. Oh, that's sad. In the This Day newspaper, we have court frees unruly Ibom Air passenger as police withdraw charges. Next up, we have Tinubu departs Abuja today on a 2-nation trip to Japan and Brazil. Next, we have in the Guardian newspaper, which says Lagos commits to fight against illegal dredging ahead of waterfront summit. Also, we have pastor arraigned for alleged assault on journalist in Asaba. Next up is the Sun newspaper, where we have Kano Maradi Railway Project reaches 61% completion, says the minister. Ondo, Edo, Bauchi, Ebonyi, Taraba top Lassa fever chart. Pen pushing newspaper, we have student allegedly fakes own kidnapping, demands 50 million naira ransom from parents. 4 fake blind beggars remanded for child trafficking. And finally, in the headlines this morning, we have the Vanguard newspaper, auto crash claims 2 in Bayelsa State. And the final headline is police arrest pastor, 2 others for alleged rape and murder. We're joined in by our analyst. Good morning, Adeyemi.
Good morning for me.
How are you?
And good morning to all our listeners around the world. I'm good, thank you.
Okay, how's the weather over at your end?
Well, for now, it's still a bit dry, at least. But it has not shown any evidence of rain per se.
Okay.
But hopefully, it does not rain today. I pray so.
Are you on your way out this morning?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because I have a lot of things to do, and I don't pray for the rain to come because it disorganizes your thing.
Your day. Okay. All right. So we're going to go into the Guardian newspaper this morning. Lagos moves to regulate rent, curb abuse with new tenancy bill. The Lagos State House of Assembly has proposed a new law aimed at fostering harmonious relations between landlords and tenants by clearly defining rent payment structures, including yearly and monthly options and procedures for issuing eviction notices, among other provisions. In the final draft seen by The Guardian, the bill for a law to regulate the relationship between landlords and tenants including the procedure for the recovery of premises in Lagos State and for other connected matters, will repeal the tenancy law cap T1 laws of Lagos State 2015. The law is long overdue and will modernize housing relationships in Lagos, lawmaker Femi Sahid said in July. He described the bill as a positive step, noting that it defines landlords' rights such as tenement rates, land use charges, and other levies, while also confirming tenants' rights and the court's authority over tenancy issues. Under the bill, it is unlawful for a landlord or agent to demand or receive from a sitting tenant rent exceeding 3 months for a monthly tenancy or 1 year for a yearly tenancy, regardless of the tenancy's nature at commencement. Likewise, sitting tenants are prohibited from offering or paying rent exceeding these limits. For new or prospective tenants, landlords or their agents must not demand or receive rent beyond 1 year, and tenants must not offer or pay rent above that limit. Any person who receives or pays rent above the prescribed limit commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine of 1 million naira or 3 months imprisonment. Where there is no agreement specifying the length of notice required to terminate a tenancy, the bill sets default notice periods. A tenant at will must receive 1 week's notice, a monthly tenant 1 month, a quarterly tenant same 3 months, a half yearly tenant 3 months, and a yearly tenant 6 months. Adeyemi, this is an interesting bill because if there's anything that has been plaguing Nigerians in the last 1 year, I think 2 years, it has been that the first of all the prices of uh rent has been astronomically high, and there's also the issue of landlords or agents requesting that the the rent that they're about to pay is over a year, 18 months, 2 years, etc. What would you say? Is this a step in the right direction? Is this bill a step in the right direction for um for landlords and tenants? I mean, tenants will say they're happier about it, and landlords might be like, maybe not so much. But what do you think about this bill? Is this a step in the right direction?
Thank you very much for me. The bill is absolute a right step in the right direction because it favors both the landlord and the tenants.
Mm,
It tries to eliminate what you call abuse,
mm,
both on the part of the landlord and the tenant, because you have tenants who, when they owe rent, and they have the belief that they can hold rent and not pay and leave the premises as at when they like, particularly when they will tell you that their lawyer they'll go to court all this stuff. But with all the stipulated terms, it is to the advantage of the landlord in that respect that you've been a tenant, you owe. There is a stipulated time for you to be evicted, and going to be written notice to that. And if that you did not comply, you know that the law will take its course on that.
mm,
And also on the part of the tenant, the advantage that they have, this yearly payment, the rent, quarterly, and the monthly, it favors the tenant, and it protects the tenant, from a lot of abuses that are being perpetuated by the landlords. Also, with the state of the economy today, we know what it is to cough out money for rent, and you see so many landlords demanding for 2 year rent, but that already is eliminated. So, when you look at it very well, you see that it favors both the landlord and the tenant. But having said that, there's an aspect that the government has not really dealt into, which is the control, which is the rent rate, in different areas. And I know that that may not be really possible in the sense that when you look at the cost of building materials and the cost of land in Lagos, you know that whatever rent that these people are putting reflects the state of the economy, that's the prices of this building material. So if we want government to do something more tangible other than just these regulations, what about making sure that the cost of building materials drops,
mm,
reduce it so that it can be affordable. You see, house accommodation should not be just for those who have the money only. At least it should be available to everybody, because it is one of the three fundamental things that any man, necessities of life that any man should enjoy. So, and the government should not really rely solely on the landlords as private individuals. The government also should endeavor make sure that they build enough homes, enough houses that can accommodate people. Because you see, when you look at accommodation problem in Nigeria, you will know that we have deficit of accommodation. Looking at the population, as we speak, you have about 10 people in a room in some houses.
Mm.
You know, this is not acceptable. And we tend to, when we want to bring some laws that has to do with making money for the government, they will now be comparing us to the Western world, how it happens, what they are paying in other clients. But what about any levy that is being paid in Nigeria, and you at the end of the day you compare yourself with other clients, then you should be ready also to give what those nations are giving to their people that they are benefiting as citizens to your own citizen. As we speak, we find that what happens when it comes to the accommodation in Nigeria, you realize that most of the accommodation in Nigeria is being provided by individuals, private developers. What is the role of the government? When you go to talking about England as a place, as a nation, you find that it is now that you are even having private developers. Most of the accommodation is being developed by the municipals, the municipalities of the counties are the ones developing all those, the boroughs are the ones developing all those properties that their citizens are living in. So they call them council house. You see that it is easy, they can easily afford it. And there are mortgages made available for them so that, as you rent the house, you are also, with the rent you are paying, to own your own house at the end of the day. Not that after you have paid the rent for 5, 10 years, 20 years, you, at the end of the day, you need the accommodation. You see, so a lot of things still needs to be done. It is not just making sure that the tenants, because we don't want a situation where our brothers and sisters become destitute just, by the greediness of the landlords and the so-called agents. So a lot of things still need to be done. That's talking about accommodation. Let the government look into it. And like I said sometimes ago, I said government actually constitutes a lot to the happenings, to the problem we have in real estate. Why did I say that? Find out any area that you have government scheme. Look at the price before the coming of the government scheme in that area. You will see how low it is. But the moment government schemes comes into being in that area, the prices the government also placed on their property is quite a lot higher than what is ongoing in that area before they are coming into that area. So, and by the time the so-called individuals that own houses in that area now see the prices that the government is giving out their houses, so they also will have to, up their game, and that actually affects the pocket of the ordinary man who wants to rent, who wants to buy. So the government has to be holistic, has to be sincere in their dealings. It is not just regulating only. What about what they also are doing? They should look at themselves. It is not about the landlords and the tenants only. What is the role of the government? What are they also doing to ameliorate the problem that we have on ground regarding accommodation in Nigeria? God bless us.
Thank you so much, Adeyemi, for that. I want to even take you up on what you had said initially, talking about if the government being the one should be the one to provide accommodation for people, housing for people. But before I go ahead, let me take this call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning for me.
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good morning, Mr. Adeyemi. This is Mr. Prince on the line.
Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, Prince.
This is my own area, my own profession this morning. Yes, Lagos State government. How sincere are they? Adeyemi, thank you for that last part of your word. The issue in real estate today in Nigeria, I want to point out a few things. First, In Lagos, for example, I'm fighting in my own industry, which is the same real estate. But I have a platform, I have a marketplace, okay? And in my marketplace, I hate two things. One, if you are a realtor or an agent that is posting a property, and the property is under what we call discrimination, no this tribe, no this tribe, it won't fly on my page. Secondly, the government officials are much involved in this thing that we are talking about. Are you getting me? Most of them are into real estate. If they want to fight it, how is it that, okay, for example, you are giving out a property house, let's say 3-bedroom duplex or whatever apartment it is in Ogba, Ikeja, in any part of Nigeria, and it's going for maybe 3 point something million, depending on the fashion of the house. Then there is what I see at times. I will see agency, I will see commission. Please, what is the difference between agency and commission? And then at the end, what you are going to pay in terms of, maybe you will not see legal, you will see damage, you will see this, you will see that, all those unnecessary bills piled up by whatever they don't understand. Where is it coming from? Then the 10% that they were collecting, and some people are collecting 20% from uneducated clients or Nigerians who are desperately in need of houses. What is it for? How is government coming to help in this aspect? If it is agency, educating the agency is the same thing as commission. Then the lawyer or the landlord collecting damage of the same equal amount. If agency is 200,000, landlord is collecting 200,000 for damage, or agreement 500,000. What is it for? How do a Nigerian who is managing 70,000 minimum wage get a decent apartment in Lagos? I said something last week. If you remember, you said people should leave Ikorodu and Lekki to where? After paying hundreds of millions for houses in Lekki, for example. If they come to this mainland, please, what will be the houses of the rent? How will it skyrocket in this area? In Ogba to even Akute. Akute is even higher now than some places in Ogba. Why? Because of the infiltration of those people. Now, how will government also manage their own assets? Because some of them that are into this real estate have made it so difficult for those people that even are call them roadside agents. They don't have knowledge of what real estate is all about. They don't know anything. All their own is, in fact, collecting transport fare, inspection fee, documentation, all those nonsense that has been imputed into this industry have made it so useless.
All right. Thank you.
I want to be able to track those issues, those little issues, because I know some agents are listening to this conversation this morning. God bless you.
All right. Thank you so much, Prince. Adeyemi, would you like to react? Because this is directly to you.
Yeah. Very, very important. Thank you very much, my brother Prince. Honestly, the burden that agents and landlords has put upon the potential tenants is enormous. Particularly when you talk about those people who rent tenement houses. That's where you find a house that is a room that is going for 45,000. You find out that they will be paying 50,000 for agency fee. Meanwhile, the rent is 45,000. Pay 50,000 for agency fee, pay 50,000 for legal. It is not done. It is not appropriate. Normally, in the field of real estate management, you are meant to charge just is either 10% or lesser than 10%, nothing above that. And you see, the problem we have is that the professional body, the Nigeria Institute of Estate Management and Valuers, they are not up to their game. That's the honest truth. What is happening in that field ought not to be happening if actually those who are the front runners of that profession are up and doing and protect the interest. You see, you find out that those who went to university, who spent 5 years studying estate management, for crying out loud, are not doing well in this field. Why? Because of the quack that has taken over, and the body is not doing anything about it. It is not right. Anybody that wants to go into that field, it's either you have diploma, or you go for the certificate, or you go for the degree. With that, you'll be able to sensitize the place. And at the same time, you see, a landlord has no right to rent out his house by himself. And if you are going to do that, you cannot advertise it. That is the law that operates in other clients. In the Western world, if we don't want to give it to an agent, the agent must be someone that is registered. The agent must be someone that is known to the government, to the body of the estate management. That is what is called a profession. But in this part of the world, it has been bastardized. And the government of Lagos State, you see what I see Lagos State doing. Lagos State as a body wants to take over the real estate. And that is not the way it is done. You don't take over the real estate. What they should do is to regulate it, to be able to protect the interest of those who are actually professionals in that field. I've heard sometimes ago that Lagos State is that anybody that wants to rent or do anything should make sure that they consult them. No, it is not their responsibility. It is not their responsibility. What they should do, what is important that they should do, is to make sure that every estate managers in Lagos State are registered with them. They have nothing to do with potential tenants or land buyers. They have no right, they have no responsibility, they have no responsibility with them. Their responsibility is to protect their interests by making sure that the person that is going to transact, that is going to broker that particular transaction, is registered with them, so that that person is traceable. That is the aspect. I'm talking about the aspect of the rent and the agency. You see, commission and agency are the same thing. But because the people, the quack, it emanated from the quack. If you still see the real estate consultants, those who actually studied, be it in the polytechnic or in the university, you will see that when they write agency fee, legal fee. Those are the two fees they collect. But the quack, because you find out that they have chains, because they will tell one person, tell the other, and even the truth of the matter is that sometimes most of the adverts you see in the space, most of those people that advertise do not know the property. It's hearsay most of them are living on. And at the end of the day, when you ask them, is it your direct brief? They will tell you no. And even when you ask them for inspection, they take it there, you find out that they will end up telling you, the person that owns the key is not available, is not around. That's to tell you they don't have a hold. So those are the areas we are talking about that the government should protect. Let everybody that is going to operate in the real estate field, let them be registered and let them be known to Lagos State. That is the only thing. And if they are registered with Lagos State, because why? We want to protect the interest of the landlord and the tenants. Because you see, we have seen so many cases where people make away with people's money. Even those who are buying houses for people, those who are renting houses for people, you'll find out that one agent can rent one house for 10 people. And at the end of the day, have come with their money. So these are the things that needs to be protected. And I am calling on the body of Nigeria Institute of Estate Management and Valuers to please stand up and do something. Take your place. It is impossible for any profession, any other person to take over the work of an accountant in Nigeria. It's very difficult for anybody to take the place of a lawyer when it comes to anything that has to do with agreement. You cannot do it. Anything documentation, that field is protected. Let the estate management, the estate institute as well, let them protect their professional.
Thank you so much, Adeyemi, for your, as always, insightful contribution. When you were speaking, it took me that back to when I was looking for, accommodation, and you've said the right thing. Let's take this call. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Evangelist calling from Obo.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. I agree with analysts 80%. Government has paid totally. And that's why I see some people are feeling to buy renting a house in this area where I am now. It's about 50% for 3 million. And sister, how much is your salary per annum? How are we going to be? A room now is about 20,000 per month. Per month to some 15,000 per month. Do you know human inhumanity? For the fact that I know that cement is costly, yes, I know that. But it's not justified by those wicked landlords. And we say so. Some people say, now, yes, I'm building something. I know, and the government are bringing down the price of cement, building material. They are doing it so that we can, because everything we take up ourselves. In those days, when our youth finish secondary school, we rent a room and manage. That's a room 3,000 naira a month. They will move out of our house. Now, our youth will finish. They will graduate. They will get work. They will pay them 60,000 naira a month. They will still remain in our house. Nobody to us. What type of country are we in? And these people are in government stealing money, doing anyhow, when they are taking nowhere. And it's not going to be more than 6 weeks for them. And you can get away from it in this nation. But God is what? If you get away here, you need to get away from God. What is it that you have that you will not live there one day? You know, we are related to one another. Landlords are being feared. They are not making law for 3 months rent. Okay, my sister, they say 3 months rent. Then the flat is going for 3. They increase the price of this in per month now. They will now say 3.5 million. You need to afford the money. If you look into all this, government is not helping us, and we are not helping ours. I retire in almost a year now. I'm still assessing my retirement meeting. Okay, what I'm doing. The office where people are working, people don't want to do their work. As we are accountable as people on the government, we ourselves, in our places of work, anywhere we are we doing the right thing? God is watching us. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you so much. It is 8 o'clock on the dot, and you're still listening to WFM 91.7, Nigeria's first and only radio station for women and their families. This is the newspaper review headline segment of the Full Breakfast Show, and we've been talking about, the new housing bill that has been passed. Let's go over to the messages. Good morning to everyone in the studio. It is quite unfortunate. One day, one trouble in our country. Yesterday, it was the NYSC saga, and today is about comfort, Emmanson, and tomorrow another negative story will surface. While we are busy talking about it, the politicians are busy looting our commonwealth. Many of your so-called rulers today are supposed to be in jail for committing one crime or the other, but they are everywhere in the sectors ruling you and I. And you think we are going to get good governance? Impossible. This is the only country that crimes are being rewarded while the decent ones are helpless. What a country. Kwamwan has just been rewarded for a serious offense. PDP zoning formula is fake as far as I'm concerned, because Wike is still there working for Tinubu. Who is deceiving who? This is from Mayor in Ikotun Egbe. Olushoga Ajayi from Odunlike already says they always make a mockery of this station, of his nation, by being in a rush on matters that require some level of caution and diplomacy. Eventually, they reprobate and approbate simultaneously. They just use this girl to give Kwamwon soft landing, descending fast into the abyss of moral and societal decadence, ably promoted by Nigerian political actors. You can't plant stone and expect to reap yams. Nigeria is becoming a theater of laughter. Thank you so much for your messages. Adeyemi, do you want to give your final word before we let you go and welcome our Sumbo? I can see that Sumbo is here already.
Thank you very much for me. Well, my take this morning is that we Nigerians, as we are, we also have a role to play in all this thing. Then there can never be a Nigeria without us. And with us and the power that's been given to us as enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, then there are a lot that we can do. I've been saying it and I will continue to reiterate it. Then look, the Constitution has given us that right. When the lawmakers are not doing what we send them there to do, we should put forth the instrumentality of recalling them. By the time we're able to do that to one or two of them, you will see the others will sit up, and in that course, they will do our bidding. They will hold the executive accountable. They will be able to checkmate the executive. With that, we will have a country that works. God help us, Nigerians.
Thank you so much, Adeyemi. It's always a pleasure to have you on our newspaper headlines review segment of the show. Have a lovely day, Adeyemi.
Thank you. And you too.
Good morning, Simba.
Good morning.
How are you
doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you this morning? Hi, Simba. Hi, Simba. Can you hear me? Okay, you're still tuned in to WFM 91.7, Nigeria's first and only radio station for women. Oh, Simba's back. Hi, Simba. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I'm very much on. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to say congratulations. We haven't had time to speak since on your daughter's graduation.
Oh, thank you so much. I came back only last night.
Did you bring chocolates for us?
Anytime.
Anytime. Thank you. Do you want to react to the housing bill before we go into our topic this morning?
Absolutely. And the reason is because I trained as an estate surveyor and valuer.
Okay.
So you can understand why I would have, a kind of bias towards the topic. It's a whole load of stuff and it's interesting to me. First, about the bill. I've read through the bill and in all honesty, I don't see much that is in the bill that is different from, the law that exists. The problem with us in Nigeria is that we don't take the law into practice. Now, I'll tell you a couple of things. I graduated as an estate surveyor is close to 40 years now. And I practiced the profession and got to the height before I left it. I left practice. So I think, I have an idea what is going on. First and foremost is the fact that I do not know of any other country in the world where rent is paid upfront to the tune of and if you pay a mortgage, you make a down payment. That's when you want to purchase a house. You make it and then you continue to, pay the rest a long period of what the generation of my parents had, where they had mortgages that long as 30, sometimes 40 years. Now, to this point, where we began to ask for advancement of rent for 2 years. At some point, it got to 3 years. I'll tell you the genesis of it. The genesis of it was when we began to have a proliferation of banks in Nigeria. I think this was in the early 1990s. And these banks because of the competitive nature that they had amongst themselves, and because the banks were not doing any business apart from collecting money from A and placing it, with another bank and getting interest. They were just revolving the money around. The money was not being used to do any investment or business. That is one. And so they began to employ staff. That was the time when they came up with the word yoppy, yop and up, young and upwardly mobile or some stupid thing like that. And so these banks began to pay outrageous salaries, destroy, the banking sector. The government did not pay attention. I'm driving at a point because the problem we have in Nigeria is we do not see a problem in view of others that it can create. So they began to pay salaries and they began to pay some part of those salaries upfront. So they paid your housing upfront for a year. They paid your transport allowance upfront for a year. All of those allowances they gave you in January for the entire year. Because of that, this set of people had good money in their hands, to squander or to spend anyhow. And because, the working sector is never separated from the economic sector of Nigeria. For instance, if the market woman hears that salaries have been increased, she automatically increases, the cost of things. They all work together. So landlords began to make this demand. After all, you've collected your money upfront. You can pay me upfront. And it could be a case of the people themselves, because they want to show, Nigerians like to show, because they want to maybe, deal other people out of the opportunity. They say, don't worry, I'll pay you for 1 year. And so that happened. And the government sat still and did nothing about it. And because the government did not do anything about it, they could not think. We're not good thinkers. We don't think ahead in this country. They did not think of the other problems that was going to generate. And so that went on. Eventually, of course, the banking sector collapsed. All of that virtual money that was being thrown about, because it wasn't money in real terms. I worked in all of those banks too, so I can talk from both ends. When that industry collapsed, the problem came. The problem had been put out there. It was not possible to be taken back. And so the ordinary man who is doing, an ordinary job that pays just regular money, where is he going to get that upfront? And where is he going to get that cost? That's number one. The number two is the question, what determines value? You see, the estate surveyor is trained to understand that cost and value are not the same thing. In other words, you can build a house with 50 million. That's the total cost. And the value of that house, when I go to valuation, can be 15 million. And then you can ask me, but I built it with 50 million. It doesn't matter, because in determining value, there are things you are looking for. It is not commensurate with cost. And so you have this stupid pricing going on. You tell me to come and buy land in Banana Island, in all of these places that they have created for monies that are not, you cannot even begin to understand. And what is the value that property is conferring to you? You have houses in Lekki, it's a flooded area, you can't go. There's absolutely nothing there to show value. These are the issues. So government is not looking. Unfortunately, my profession itself, my primary profession itself, is guilty because it is not representing the profession well. And then you also now have this incursion by so-called estate agents. Look, one of the reasons why I stopped practice is because I said, look, I read this course, I know this course. Rentals, agency is less than 5% of the cost. I don't swim in shallow waters. And every Tom, Dick, and Harry can come on and say, I'm an estate agent. Who made them so? Because there's no regulation. So these are the several things. I mean, many more. Otherwise, I'll take your time this morning. Many more things why the things are so. And then to now capital. Government now comes, as we always do, after the deed has been done. We now come and we want to be a shining diamond. And I laugh. The question is this: how much can government regulate what it does not supply?
All right.
How much? How many, in terms of the housing need of Nigerians, what is the percentage of housing supply by the government? And let me tell you, when government comes out and says, oh, we're making housing for the low cost for the citizens and all of that, how many, what percentage of those housing units actually get into the hands of the ordinary citizen of Nigeria? No, it is the elite, the so-called elite, the so-called privileged people that still go and buy up these houses. Some of them will buy as many as 10. The Fashola houses. How many ordinary Nigerians have access to them? They will still, within the government quarters, will still sell the houses to themselves. I know of estates where people have as many as 5 houses belonging to one man. So what are we talking about?
All right.
And so when government now comes and says they want, and for me it's a laughing matter. I don't see any good that is going to come out of that, Nazareth.
Thank you so much, Sumbo. Wow, I've learned quite a few from what you've said this morning, as well as I'm sure our newspaper family. But let's quickly go to the second headline for the day as we're running out of time. This is the Vanguard newspaper. Falana: federal government has lost moral right to prosecute unruly passengers after Kwam pardon. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana has accused the federal government of undermining its moral authority to prosecute unruly air passengers following its decision to pardon Fuji star Wasiu Ayinde Marshal, popularly known as Kwam, over alleged misconduct at Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. The Inspector General of Police's office has opened an investigation into allegations that the musician poured the contents of a flask on a pilot, a security officer, and some passengers at the airport. However, before the probe could be concluded and charges filed, the federal government accepted Kwam's apology and announced plans to appoint him as an ambassador for airport security protocol. Falana criticized the move, warning that it sets a dangerous precedent. He cited a recent withdrawal of charges against Ms. Comfort Emmanson, accused of unruly behavior on Ibom air flight, as evidence that the government's selective handling of such cases risks accusations of discrimination. He says, since citizens have equal rights, obligations, and opportunities before the law, the government will henceforth be accused of discriminatory treatment whenever it prosecutes other passengers for similar conduct. He stressed that pardoning Kwam without trial contradicts this principle of equal application of the law and erodes public confidence in the justice system of Nigeria. Sumbo, we've been seeing all that's been going on in the last couple of days, last week. What would you say? What would you say to this? Yes.
A show of shame. Unfortunately, as a country, we are shameless. We don't blush. We have no sense of, what will the people say. I think that's just the word for me on that issue. Nigeria as a country is shameless. Nigeria as a country it doesn't matter how they look like in the outside world. Okay? And we forget that people are watching and they are taking notes. It's so interesting. I flew in back to Nigeria yesterday. And on my flight, there was an altercation between the crew and some set of Nigerians. I think maybe they work for an organization and had probably gone on some training or whatever. Now, I didn't know what the problem was. But I was hearing some mumbling, around the place where that was going on. But I didn't pay attention. And when we arrived at the airport, everybody had stood up to get their bags, and the crew, came up to say, everybody should sit down. They had a matter to handle. We could not disembark. Now, it's amazing that all of this is happening. Okay, what had happened? I don't know what had happened in the plane, but one of the passengers had rolled out their phone and had started recording. I don't know. I didn't find out. But let me come back to this issue. We are laying I agree absolutely with Femi Falana. We are laying a precedent in Nigeria. Look, let me not say we are laying, because we have already laid that precedent over and over again. We're building on it. How do you turn from what we have come to know that the Constitution actually considers what Kwam One did as a criminal offense? How you now bring a criminal offense and treat it like a civil, misdemeanor is what I don't understand. I don't have a problem with apologies. All over the world, apologies are given. But apology given does not, take away the issues on ground, the infractions on ground, and the need for those infractions to be sanctioned, so that you do not, make that bad precedent that Falana is talking about. Why didn't you? And then the way we do everything in a hurry in Nigeria, something happens. You have not heard through the events. You have not listened to, the sides of the story. You have not investigated and come to a conclusion. You jump on air and you begin to reel out sanctions or begin to reel out, pardon and all of that. The issue of Kwabon, first and foremost, should have been allowed. The law should have been allowed, to take its course. First and foremost, prosecute. When you're prosecuted, what the outcome of the prosecution will bring out a judgment and a sentencing. Now, having done that, you can now begin to talk about apologies, and maybe you want to pardon and the reason for pardoning, and pardoning does not mean a total disengagement from the sentencing. It could just be, when they say temper justice with mercy. That's on the one hand. Then you bring about now the case of this other woman. And let me tell you something. These are the things that happen when you don't tackle issues on time. When the issue of Kwam came, if it had been tackled, decisively, the moment it happened, it probably might have served as a deterrent to the, actions of this other lady, Comfort. Although I don't know what transpired, you begin to hear different versions. The situation becomes, a trial of public opinion, a trial on social media. Do you understand what I'm talking about? We've heard so many things. We've seen a video of what happened as they were trying to bring her out. Who has a video of what happened inside the plane? The girl herself, I don't know if at any point in time she has spoken, because I wasn't really following. I don't know if she has spoken. Nothing, and people are talking and deciding this is what should happen, this is not what should happen. What kind of a jungle country is this? Everybody becomes a judge. Everybody becomes a journalist in this country. And so for me, the conclusion, as I've said, is that we are shameless. We have no sense of, handling issues. And what we have done now is to say that a passenger, like they say, the customer is always right. A passenger is always right on the plane. For me, that's what this whole matter has brought out. Because we are concentrating on these passengers and what had happened. We are not even looking at the airline officials themselves. What does it mean for them? How risky is their own security too? Because it takes two.
All right.
So, and then that's cool. Just one last thing to say. The crew of the pilot and all of that, what are they supposed to do? What is minimal force? What is the protocol? All of these things are things that we have to go back to the drawing board and determine and ensure that everyone stays within their own bounds. And when there's an infraction, it is dealt with immediately and adequately. That's my take.
Thank you so much, Sumba, for your contribution. Let's go back to the messages. It is 22 minutes after 8, which means we are fast spent, but we'll take a couple. If we're unable to take the rest, please bear with us. Good morning, WFM Radio, and my Iron Lady, the analyst. It's only in Nigeria criminals, people with unruly behavior are given kudos and celebrated, titled, even untitled. Even the most corrupt government officials also honored. And this must stop. The case of Kwamon and Comfort Emmanson should end the era of impunities in our country. Fatherism should not be encouraged if we must move forward. This is Anderson from Itoki. Good morning, Fumi Adeyemi. The issue of rent in Lagos is problematic. The demand is more than supply. The government is not providing mandatory services necessary to cushion the plight of the people. For me, the bill will not function. The government itself will violate it when it involves their cronies. The law is rendered impotent. Politicians, elites are above the law in Nigeria. Criminality is increasing because it is now instituted by giving soft landing to criminals. How we survive in this country is divine, nothing more. That is Evangelist Shegun Oyedeji. Thank you so much for your message. Next up, we have Women Radio. Imagine what our country is turning into. So bad. So bad people are better celebrated. The president of this country when all this nonsense was ongoing. Even Animal Farm by George Orwell are better composed than Nigerian politicians. Let them continue to encourage criminality. I hail the Nigeria. Hey, for the Sage. Thank you so much for your messages. We see that they are coming in torrent, but unfortunately, we do not have any more time to take your messages. Sincere apologies, but you can join us same time, same station, 7:30 to 8:30 to send in your messages to join us in the newspaper review headline segment of the show, of the full breakfast show. My name is Fumi Bangala and I'm wishing you well. Thank you so much, Sumba, for joining us in the conversation this morning.
Thank you. For me, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. And there you have it, folks. As you go about your day, you can go purchase the national dailies or read them online to catch up on conversations in the national dailies this morning. See you same time tomorrow. God bless. This concludes the end of the full breakfast show. Once again, my name is Fumi Bangbala.
Kill somebody, she want make her come carry her. I'ma make her in one body, yeah. Hey, baby, hey, you know how it is. Oh yeah, bring her the baby.